Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so we've got this really interesting source material here. It's a guide focusing completely on the MEXC crypto exchange platform.
Yeah, provided by you, the listener.
Exactly. And our goal in this deep dive, using this specific material, is to, well, cut through the noise pretty quickly. We want to figure out what MEXC actually is, how it works according to this guide, what the pros and cons might be.
And maybe how someone could actually get started if they wanted to.
Precisely. It's all about getting you the key info from the document you sent over. So right off the bat, the guide describes MEXC as a centralized crypto exchange, a CEX, used for, the usual stuff, buying, selling, trading, managing assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, but also apparently a lot of other cryptos.
And that word centralized is key, isn't it? That's really the starting point.
Right.
It means you're dealing with a company, a platform that holds the assets for you, which is, well, fundamentally different from a DEX, a decentralized exchange where you always control your keys.
Good distinction. Okay, so let's unpack what the CEX platform does then, based on the source. It lists quite a range of functions. You got your basic spot trading, just buying or selling crypto at whatever the market price is right now.
Right, the simplest form. But the guide, it seems, quickly gets into more complex stuff. It mentions futures trading, which is where you're betting on the price going up or down in the future. You can go long or short.
Often with leverage too, right?
Exactly, using leverage, which boosts potential gains, but also potential losses significantly. And it lists margin trading too, another way to trade using borrowed funds.
And beyond just trading, it talks about earning passively, like staking and other earning programs.
Holding your crypto and earning yield on it.
Plus, access to Launchpad or IEOs, so getting in early on new coin launches happening on MEXC.
Right, initial exchange offerings.
And even copy trading. It says you can sort of mimic what experienced traders on the platform are doing automatically.
Interesting. And besides all the trading and earning, the guide also covers the basics, right? Like wallet management on the platform, transferring crypto in and out, and giving you the tools traders expect, like real-time market data, charts for analysis, that sort of thing.
Okay, so it definitely sounds like MEXC is packing in a lot of features, especially if you're looking beyond just, say, Bitcoin. Let's dive into the advantages the guide highlights.
Okay.
The first one that really jumps out is the sheer number of kinds available. It says MEXC supports over 1,000 altcoins.
1,000, wow.
Yeah, and often lists newer, maybe less common coins faster than some of the bigger exchanges.
And that's where it could get really interesting, right? If you're specifically looking for those smaller cap or newer altcoins.
Definitely.
The guide implies you get access to a much wider market, maybe earlier access sometimes. But what's interesting there, the flip side, is that means you might also be dealing with assets that have, say, lower liquidity or maybe much higher volatility.
That's a fair point. The guide doesn't seem to dwell on that risk, but it's implied by the sheer number.
It's just the nature of trading lots of smaller coins. More potential opportunity, perhaps, but more risk, too.
Makes sense. You need to do your homework. Okay, another advantage the guide really emphasizes is low trading fees.
Fees. Always important.
It says they're generally lower than many top-tier exchanges.
That could be a big deal, especially if you trade a lot. Lower fees really make a difference over time. It suggests maybe they're competing on price to get volume, especially with all those altcoins listed.
Yeah, could be. The source also describes the interface as user-friendly. Easy for beginners, it claims, but still powerful enough for experienced traders.
That's always a tricky balance to strike, isn't it?
It is.
Making it simple enough for a newcomer, but having the depth for a pro. The guide mentioning advanced tools, charts, API access.
Right, API for automated trading, professional order types.
That suggests they are trying to cater to serious traders, which, might inherently make it feel a bit complex, even if parts are designed to be simple.
True. They also mention high liquidity, particularly, it says, in futures and trending altcoin markets.
Liquidity is crucial. It means you can actually buy and sell reasonably easily without your own order drastically moving the price, especially important for those potentially less traded altcoins.
Good point. And it also mentions those staking and passive income options, again, for just holding assets on the platform.
Yeah, ways to potentially make your crypto work for you while it sits there. Always appealing.
And here's a detail the guide points out that seems quite specific. No mandatory KYC for small trades.
Know your customer. Identity verification.
Right. It says you can have limited use without needing to submit all your identity documents right away.
Okay, that's interesting. That kind of flexibility is definitely something certain users look for privacy, maybe just easier onboarding.
Yeah.
But it almost always comes with strings attached, right? Usually lower withdrawal limits, or maybe you can't deposit fiat currency, things like that. Does the guide mention limits?
It implies limitations, yeah, by saying for small trades and linking KYC to higher limits or fiat. And finally, on the plus side, the guide confirms it's available on, well, everything mobile and desktop, iOS, Android, web browsers.
Standard expectation nowadays, but yeah, essential for access.
Okay. So that's the picture the guide paints on the upside. Lots of coins, low fees, plenty of features.
What?
But like anything in crypto, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
Rarely is.
The material you sent also flags some potential issues, disadvantages users should know about.
Right. And a big one the guide brings up is regulation, or rather, the lack of it in some places.
Yeah.
It specifically notes MEXC is not regulated in certain countries, and that this could mean less legal clarity, maybe less protection for users, compared to exchanges like, say, Coinbase, which have licenses in specific major jurisdictions.
That feels important.
It really raises a question for you, the listener. How much does that regulatory status matter to you personally? And does the guide clarify the implications for where you live? Because it varies so much globally.
That's a crucial point, very location dependent.
Huh?
Okay, the guide also mentions the platform's potential complexity for beginners. Even if they claim a user-friendly interface, things like futures trading, using leverage, copy trading, those are inherently complex and, well, risky if you don't really get them.
Absolutely. And that's just the reality when a platform offers powerful financial tools. The guide seems to acknowledge, yeah, these things can be overwhelming or even dangerous if you jump in without understanding.
Then there are reports mentioned in the guide about customer support issues.
Oh.
Apparently, some users have reported slow response times or maybe unresponsive support, especially when the market gets really busy.
Yeah, support can be critical, can't it? Especially if something goes wrong in the fast-moving crypto world. If the guide is flagging that, it suggests users might need to, manage their expectations about getting instant help all the time.
Something to keep in mind. Yeah. And then there's that fundamental point we touched on right at the start, the inherent risk of using any centralized exchange.
Right, the CEX risk itself.
The guide reminds us, because the platform holds your private keys, your funds are vulnerable. If the platform fails, gets hacked, faces regulatory action.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, as the guide points out, is that core trade-off. You get the convenience, the features, the deep liquidity, access to all those coins by using a CEX like MEXC.
Yeah.
But you are trusting them. You're giving up direct control of your assets. The guide is pretty clear on highlighting that fundamental risk of the model.
Yeah. And one last disadvantage the guide mentions is limited fiat options.
Meaning getting traditional money like dollars or euros in and out.
Exactly. Compared to some other big exchanges, it states the options for direct fiat deposit or withdrawal are less developed.
Okay, so that might mean more steps are involved. Maybe you primarily need to deposit crypto you already have elsewhere, or rely more heavily on those peer-to-peer markets or third-party payment providers the guide mentioned, rather than simple bank transfers being widely available.
Could be. Okay, so we've kind of built a picture now of what MEXC is, its functions, the pros, the cons, all based on this guide you provided. If, after hearing all that, someone does decide they want to try it, the guide also walks through the basic steps.
Right, the practical bit. Step 1 is pretty simple. Download and install the app. Search MEXC, buy Bitcoin, BTC, and crypto in your app store. Get it installed.
Step 2, create an account. Use your email or phone number, set a good, strong password, and critically enable 2FA, two-factor authentication.
Right away. Yeah, essential security layer.
Absolutely. Step 3 is complete KYC. But, as the guide notes, remember this is optional for those lower limits or if you're not planning on using fiat directly.
Right. If you want higher withdrawal limits or need fiat access, then you'll likely have to do the full identity verification process.
Okay. Step 4, deposit funds. 2 main ways, according to the guide. Either send crypto you already own from another wallet or exchange to your new MEXC address, or buy crypto directly using fiat. The guide mentions P2P, that's peer-to-peer trading with other users, or using those third-party payment partners, maybe bank transfer, card, depending on what's actually offered where you are.
Got it. So once you've got funds in the account, step 5 is start trading.
Yep. Choose spot or futures, pick your trading pair, BTC USDT is the classic example, and then place your order. The guide mentions different order types, like a limit order where you set your price, or a market order to buy or sell immediately at the current best price.
And then you monitor things. The guide also mentions setting stop-loss orders.
Yeah, to automatically sell if the price drops to limit your loss. And take profit orders to automatically sell if the price hits your target gain.
Useful tools for managing risk and reward.
Definitely. I know. And then finally, step 6, withdraw or stake. So you can either send your crypto off MEXC to your own external wallet.
Right, take self-custody.
Or if you're holding long-term, you could use those staking or farming features we talked about earlier to maybe earn some yield.
Makes sense. And the guide also throws in a few tips specifically for beginners, right?
It does, some practical advice. First, it advises starting with spot trading.
Yeah, back to that complexity point. Learn the basics, get a feel for the market before jumping into futures or leverage.
Solid advice. Build that foundation first. It also strongly warns against using leverage unless you really truly understand the massive risks involved.
Absolutely. Leverage cuts both ways, hard. It can magnify small gains, sure, but it magnifies small losses just as easily, potentially wiping out your account very quickly. The guide's right to be cautious there.
Very cautious. Another suggestion is using testnet or practice accounts, if MEXC offers them, to sort of play around, get comfortable with the interface without risking real money.
Oh yeah, demo accounts are invaluable if they're available. It's like, using a simulator before you actually fly the plane.
Great analogy.
Yeah.
And the final tip is a big one, and it connects right back to that core disadvantage we discussed.
Yeah.
Always store large holdings in a cold wallet, off the exchange.
Yes. And if we circle back to the big picture, that CEX risk, that centralization issue, this tip just hammers home that fundamental crypto principle. Not your keys, not your coins. Keeping significant value offline in your own control is how you mitigate that exchange risk.
Absolutely essential advice.
I know.
So, okay, that wraps up our deep dive into the MEXC platform, drawing everything directly from the guide material you sent us.
Yeah, we covered what it is, a CEX with a huge feature set, spot, futures, earning.
Right. Highlighted the potential upsides from the guide, massive altcoin selection, maybe lower fees.
Alongside those disadvantages flagged in the source, the regulatory questions, the complexity, potential support issues, and that fundamental CEX risk.
And we walked through the basic steps from the guide on how to get started, plus those key beginner tips.
So this gives you the core insights really from that specific document you shared.
So here's something to think about. Given this wide range of features, and especially that access to potentially hundreds, even thousands of altcoins that platforms like MEXC offer, how do you personally weigh those potential opportunities and benefits against the inherent risks of using a centralized exchange, particularly thinking about control over your assets and the regulatory situation where you are? What does all this mean for you as you navigate this part of the crypto world?